So I believe that inside of everybody there's a castle, an interior castle that has lots and lots of rooms, and each room is a different way that you can know God, or a different way you can pray. And in the middle of the castle, in the very middle, there's a bright sun, like a big ball of fire. And also in the middle of the castle, God is singing a song to you, to me. And anywhere we're at, close to the castle, if we stop and we pay attention, we can feel where the heat from the sun is. And if we stop, we can also hear a little bit of the song. And we can take a step towards where that heat is, or towards where the song is. So on the outside of the castle, I think it's kind of like there's a moat or a courtyard. Like you're not really in the castle. And there's maybe some alligators and snakes there that could bite you, and there's lots of other stuff going on around, like the town and the circus, and it's like really distracting. But you can kind of hear, if you listen, you can kind of hear that song from the middle of the castle. You kind of feel the heat from it. You notice which way do I go towards that if you want. But there's lots of distractions. But the way you kind of get in the castle, you start to pay attention to yourself and like, oh, you kind of notice what you're like and what you tend to get distracted by and how you tend to hear that song and that heat. Kind of take a step inward. And about a month ago, I found out that I have this brain cancer up there. And then they did a surgery and they cut out a big chunk of tumor. Now they're doing some radiation and chemo to try to make it go away. But during that time, it feels like God keeps telling me, hey, why don't you come into a different room in the castle and get to know me in a different way and find out about praying in a different way. So I keep slowly learning about different rooms in the castle and wanting to get to know more of them. Like when I was in the hospital last week, I was in the middle of the night feeling kind of scared and worried. And then it seemed like God showed me this other room in the castle. He said, come on here. And in that room, Martin Luther King was there. And he was telling me things he said in a speech the night before he died. And he said, he knows that he might die soon. But he said he doesn't have to worry now because God let him go to the mountaintop. And as you get closer to the center of the castle, in the center of the castle, whereas that's the place where it's like you're totally connected with God and one with God. Teresa of Avila, who's in that room, she talks about how you need water to water your garden. You need water to grow your spirituality. But the water comes differently the closer you get to the middle of the castle. So on the outside of the castle where God's kind of farther away, you're just kind of curious. It's like you got to get a bucket, got to walk a long ways, get some water, then bring it back for your garden. It's kind of like when you kind of heard about God, heard somebody else say something about it, you may have read something, but it's pretty distant. You got to go a long ways. And then you go a little closer inside the castle. And she says, then it's kind of like there's one of those wheels of water where the water kind of gets slowly dumped in. You don't have to go a long ways to get it, but it kind of gets dumped in and waters your garden that way. And then the water's a little closer and maybe you can know God just through your own praying and your own listening. But it's still a little bit distant. You're not totally swimming in it. But then you get a little closer to the middle of the castle and then it's like a stream, like a little river. You can go wading in the river. And then it's like just playing with God and hanging out with God, and it's really easy sometimes and gets you wet on your feet, and you can wade in it, enjoy it. Then you go in the middle of the castle, and she says, then it's like being in the rain. You don't have to go in the stream, but you're just soaked by water, and like God is everywhere. No matter where you go, it's like just appreciate and love God, and you're just so soaked in the water. So the closer you go to the middle of the castle, it's like you can get to know God in new ways. And God is closer and closer and closer. But you got to keep listening for which way do you go to get closer to that warmth, and listening for where's that song.